Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, here's another video. This one is just kind of explain the next process. So we already kind of uploaded an SVG file into our Dremel software. As you can see, it pops up here, which we kind of talked about in the last video. I did want to just draw your attention over here that an SVG file does import as a cut or score file. Okay, so a cut file is going to cut all the way through, and a score file is going to almost do like a halfway through cut. So one thing we could do to make our folding a little bit easier is if you went on to Tinkercad and you just made a simple line, nice straight line, we could upload that line, copy and paste it 4 times or however many times we need for the creases. In this case, it'd actually be 5. And we could change this to a score file. And this will just put a little cut in our cardboard and we'll be able to fold it. It would be much easier. So again, SVGs, they upload as a cut or score file. If you want to do an engrave, so that's kind of what we were doing on our coasters and things, we would need to upload a JPEG or a PDF file. That gives us that opportunity. But what I want to show you next is one of the ways that we can make these window outlines. So in the machine, I'm going to do a little capture right now. I'm going to have the machine capture what's inside of it, and I put a quick little outline of a possible window inside of it, and I'll show you what we do next. So the laser engraver is going to take 9 pictures of whatever's inside of the bed or on this metal mesh tray, and it stitches those images together and tries to figure out what actually is in there by taking 9 pictures. So hopefully I have this positioned in the right spot where it comes out nice and clean, and it did. So I actually used a green Sharpie. It will still work. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just take my mouse and highlight over what I want to capture. And I actually don't want that, so I'm going to delete that. Oops, I'm going to move it. I can't delete it. I'm going to go like that. So I want this right here. Down here is our selection sensitivity. If we do black and white, that means it's really going to be just looking for just the blacks and just the whites. If we move this box out of the way, it's kind of gray. There's a couple shadows, so I'm not going to use the black and white. I'm actually going to use the gray, and then I'm going to click next. This sometimes takes a minute or two for the software to recognize what I'm asking it to do, but it did a pretty good job. So down here, we don't want the engraved file. It will make an engraved file if you want, but for our purpose, we want to cut it out. So I'm going to turn that off and just get rid of one of the lines. We're going to keep the cut file on, and then to make sure I don't have any random little bits of things that are going to be cut out, I'm just going to turn off my background. And as you can see, it has my cut file. So the one thing with this process is it's thinking that I wanted to cut out this inside line as well as my outside line. So if it does that, it's not a big deal. The one thing we just need to make sure we are watching is when it's actually engraving, that when we get into these really tiny details and the laser comes back through, that it doesn't start our cardboard on fire. It's not going to start it on fire like a huge fire, but it might make like an ember or something, which would end up burning part of the cardboard that we don't want burned. So in this case, I'm fairly happy with this image, so I'm just going to click accept. Hopefully it accepts before my time runs out on my video here, and it did. So now I have my other shape, and I would want to turn my background back on, but here is my other cut file that I would end up putting on my cardboard and cutting it out. But again, remember, we are cutting our outline first, folding, putting our cardboard back in, and then cutting our windows. Okay. Again, any questions, you know who to come ask.